Proteins are very much important for the growth of cells. Collagen, an insoluble protein found extensively in the connective tissue of skin, tendons and bone. Trypsin, which is a very important enzyme which takes part in the process of digestion of protein. Organic compounds containing carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Hello everyone, welcome back to session 3 of this chapter called Biomolecules. Myself, B. Shobharani from the Department of Biology, Vidyashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence. Moving further for the concepts of biomolecules, hope you remember in the last session we were discussing about a very important biomolecule, that is protein. As you know, proteins are the building blocks of the body and they are made up of an amino group at one end and a carboxyl group at the other end, and where the side chain is R, which varies from an amino acid to amino acid. And we also discussed about the different types of amino acids that are required to make a particular protein and how they are arranged. So as we know, different amino acids are arranged in a different sequence held by a very important bond called peptide bond, hence the name polypeptide. So protein is also called as a polypeptide molecule, right? So as we know how important the proteins are for the human body. As we all know that proteins are very much important for the growth of cells. And usually you might have come across the growing children, we should have more of proteins because it is going to enhance growth. And it doesn't mean that as we grow old, we should not take proteins. Proteins throughout our life, it is very important as they are very much required for the wear and tear process. As you know, as the cells get worn out or dead, new cells are added upon, and for that process of adding upon the new cells, proteins are very important. So we can say we should make sure that in our daily life, in our daily diet, protein is a must. So proteins, I think that as you have already seen in the previous session about the different sources of proteins, like the pulses. The pulses are very much rich in protein, like soya bean. Then the other pulses are very rich in protein. So such proteinaceous food should be taken in our daily diet to make sure that we will not have any protein deficiency. Like you might have come across, there is one disease called Kwashiorkor, which is a protein deficiency disease. So moving on to the functions of proteins. Now let us discuss. As I said, proteins are required for various body functions. So proteins carry out many functions in the living organisms. So some protein, they act as carrier proteins. So they help in carrying the molecules from one cell to the other cell. So across the cell membrane. So some proteins take part in transport of nutrients across the cell membrane. Then they are called as carrier proteins. Carrier proteins. Right. Now, some proteins fight infectious organisms, act as antibiotics. See how important they are in fighting against the disease-causing organisms. So some proteins also help in fighting against the microorganisms which enter our body. Then some are very, very important. Some hormones. All hormones are not proteins. All proteins are not hormones. I think all of us know. What are hormones? Hormones are nothing but endocrine secretions which are produced by endocrine glands. So we also call them as chemical substances. Chemical substances, right? And we all know how important these hormones are in regulating various physiological processes inside the human body. As we know, like for example, adrenal gland is an endocrine gland, pineal gland is an endocrine gland, then ovary is an endocrine gland. So all these are the very important endocrine glands. Pituitary, very important. Hypothalamus, pituitary. So these are thyroid, parathyroid. All these are the endocrine glands which produce chemical substances called hormones, which have a great role to play in regulating the various physiological processes. So some hormones are protein in nature. See how important these hormones are, and hormones are proteinaceous in nature. So for example, I think all of us know insulin. Insulin is a hormone which is produced by the particularly the endocrine part of, as we all know, pancreas is a heterocrine gland acting both as an endocrine gland and an exocrine gland. So the endocrine part of pancreas called islets of Langerhans produces two type of cells called alpha and beta cells. Alpha cells produces a hormone called glucagon, and the alpha cells produces a hormone called glucagon, and beta cells produces a hormone called insulin. So this insulin is very much important for regulating the glucose level in the blood. As we know, the glucose is converted into glycogen and is stored in the liver, and at the same time glycogen is converted back into glucose. So insulin converts, when your glucose level in the blood is very high, it converts glucose into glycogen. So when your glucose level drops, it is converted back glycogen into glucose. So insulin hormone, see, such an important hormone in the body that regulates the glucose level in the blood, is nothing but a protein. So imagine how important these proteins are. Then all enzymes, I think all of us know, most of the enzymes are protein in nature. We all know how important these enzymes are. Enzymes are what? Enzymes are nothing but called biological catalysts. Our body is like a chemical factory. There is a series of chemical reactions taking place in presence of enzymes. And imagine, in absence of enzymes, most of the physiological processes will not take place. For example, you take digestion. So digestion is a process like, morning we have a food, we have breakfast, so after 2 hours again we feel hungry, and after having lunch again, after a gap of 2 hours again we feel hungry. So what has happened to the food? All the food is digested, as you have already studied in a chapter called digestion and absorption. All these biochemical reactions are mediated by enzymes, and enzymes are nothing but proteinaceous in nature. Then they catalyze what? Chemical reactions that occur in the body. So there is a series of chemical reactions taking place mediated by enzymes, and enzymes are proteinaceous in nature. So imagine how important these proteins are for our body. As I said, proteins are the building blocks of the body, which is very much important for the growth of the cells, and at the same time for replacing the worn out cells in the body. So proteins carry out many functions in the living organisms. So some proteins take part in transport of nutrients across cell membrane when they are called as carrier proteins, and some proteins fight infectious diseases like infectious microorganisms acting as antibiotics. We take antibiotics to fight against the disease causing organ that kills the growth or which will suppress the multiplication of the microorganisms. So even proteins also act as what? Fight against the infectious organisms. So some hormones, as I said, hormones are nothing but chemical substances and which have a great role to play in various physiological processes produced by the endocrine glands, and these hormones are nothing but chemical substances which are nothing but protein in nature. So imagine how important those, for example, like the growth hormone produced by the pituitary has a great role to play in the growth of an individual. So hypothalamus, which releases two very important hormones called oxytocin, then vasopressin. Oxytocin, which is very much important hormone called birth hormone, which is very much required at the time of the birth of the child or delivery of the child. Then ADH, which controls the water level in the body, particularly it absorbs the excess of water level from the nephrons of the kidney. So important these hormones are in the body. So these hormones are nothing but what? Proteinaceous in nature. Like insulin, as I said, the endocrine part of pancreas called the islets of Langerhans produces two types of cells, alpha and beta cells, and beta cells produces a hormone called insulin, which is nothing but protein in nature that regulates the glucose metabolism. So there, what will insulin do? It converts glucose back into glycogen, which is stored in the liver. So all enzymes, as we know, there is a series of chemical reactions taking place inside our body mediated by enzymes, as enzymes are biological catalysts and they are nothing but protein in nature. So when proteins are subjected to higher temperature, their nature gets denatured. So protein should not be subjected to higher temperature. So all even enzyme activity will be lost if enzymes are subjected to excess of heat. So all enzymes are protein in nature and they catalyze biochemical reactions that occur in the body. So this is all about a very important biomolecule called protein. So proteins are very, very important polymers of amino acids. Then now let us understand some of the examples like collagen. So what is collagen? Collagen, an insoluble protein found extensively in the connective tissue of skin, tendons and bone, which provide great strength and limited elasticity. Imagine the flexibility of the body and particularly the connective tissue which connects organs to organs, tissue to tissue and muscle to muscle have a great role to play, and that is nothing but collagen. Collagen is a very important protein. So this is a very important protein. Then ribulose biphosphate carboxylase oxygenase, that is which we use the word called Rubisco. Rubisco is the most abundant protein in the whole of the biosphere, help in what? Carbon dioxide fixation during dark reaction of photosynthesis. So collagen, and so it is also nothing but a protein. This is also a protein. So collagen, an insoluble protein found extensively in the connective tissue of skin, tendons and bone, which provide great strength and limited elasticity. Ribulose biphosphate carboxylase oxygenase, Rubisco, which we call it commonly, is the most abundant protein in the whole of the biosphere, help in the carbon dioxide fixation. Anyway, you are going to study how important this Rubisco is in the process of the dark reaction. As you know, photosynthesis has two very important processes. One is called light reaction, the other one is called dark reaction. So Rubisco is very much involved, helps in carbon dioxide fixation during dark reaction of photosynthesis, which takes place during night time. Then some of the proteins and their functions. So now let us understand some of the proteins and their functions. So protein, and this is the function. So first one, collagen, cellular ground substance. See, it acts as a cellular ground substance in the connective tissue, that which connects or act as a binding substance, right? Ground substance means a binding substance. Then trypsin, I think all of us know that most of the enzymes, as you know, enzymes are specific in their action. That is enzyme specificity, which works in a lock and key system. Anyhow, we are going to study in one more session about enzymes. You will understand how important these enzymes are. Trypsin is one form of enzyme which is very much important for acting on the protein food. So digestion of protein food is mediated by trypsin. So trypsin is an enzyme. Already you have studied in digestion and absorption. Then insulin. Insulin, as we all know, it is a hormone. As already said, the beta cells of pancreas produces insulin. What is a hormone? It regulates what? Regulates glucose level. And trypsin, digestion of protein. Digestion of protein. Collagen acts as a binding substance. Flexibility. Then antibody fights against disease-causing agents. Fights against microorganisms. Fights infectious agents. Any microorganism, may it be viruses, bacteria, which enters the body is taken care by the immediately the antibodies are produced and they kill the microorganisms that enter our body. They act as, they are the defense mechanism in our body. Then receptors. So sensory receptors, we have a lot of sensory receptors like the smell, taste, hormone, all these are called as sensory receptors, which are nothing but proteinaceous in nature. Then glutamic acid 4, that is enables glucose transport into the cells. So these are the very important some proteins and their functions. I repeat, collagen, which is a binding substance, acts as what? Cellular ground substance, and trypsin, which is a very important enzyme which takes part in the process of digestion of protein. Then insulin, as the beta cells of pancreas produces insulin, which has a great role to play in regulating the glucose level in the blood, which is a very important hormone, glucose regulating hormone, we can say. Antibodies, you know, which fights against the infectious disease, right? So which is nothing but made up of protein. Then receptors like the sensory receptors like the smell, taste, hormone, etc. Then glutamic acid 4, that is enables glucose transport in cells. So this is all about the important functions of the proteins. What are proteins? So now let us discuss about the carbohydrates further. Carbohydrates. So if you can see in this beautiful picture, the different forms of sources of carbohydrates. different sources of carbohydrates. Different sources of carbohydrates. As we know, in everyday diet or in our everyday food, we make sure that carbohydrates are present in the plate because they are the sources of energy for us. Carbohydrates are sources of energy. So, as we know, we need energy to do work and we need energy for various physiological processes. For everything, we need energy. So, that energy is given by this very important biomolecule called carbohydrates, which are the organic compounds made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So, carbohydrates are what? So, how do we define the carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketones or the compounds which yield these on hydrolysis. The general formula is CxH2OY. So, the number of carbon atom varies. Like for example, trioses 3 carbon atoms, tetroses 4 carbon atoms, pentoses 5 carbon atoms. So, base the C varies according to the number of carbon atoms. So, carbohydrates are organic compounds containing carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. It's a very important organic material, we can say. Then carbohydrates are polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketones or the compounds which yield these on hydrolysis. So when carbohydrates are subjected to hydrolysis, what do you mean by hydrolysis? Breaking, they yield the monosaccharides. So the building blocks of carbohydrates are called monosaccharides, which are also called as single sugars. They are also called as what? Single sugars. Monosaccharides here, they are called as single sugars. So, like for example, the building blocks of proteins are amino acids. The building blocks of carbohydrates are monosaccharides, or we otherwise call them as single sugars. And the building blocks of lipids are fatty acids and glycerol. So, carbohydrates are the polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketones or the compounds which yield these on hydrolysis. The general formula is CxH2O to the power Y, H2O Y. Then the simplest carbohydrates are the sugars. We use the word called saccharides, including glucose and sucrose. So what is the classification of carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are broadly classified into 3 types. That is monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, polysaccharides. So here monosaccharides we can call it as single sugars. Oligosaccharides we can call it as few sugars. Then polysaccharides as many sugars. Many sugars. So I repeat, what are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are organic compounds. They are the sources of energy to our body. They are the organic compounds made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And carbohydrates are polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketones or the compounds which yield these on hydrolysis. The general formula is CxH2O. Then the simplest carbohydrates are the sugars, saccharides. We use the word called including glucose and sucrose. Then we have this fruit sugar and all. We use the word called, we call them as fructose. Then glucose, as you know, glucose is the main source of energy to our body. So what is the classification of, based on the number of saccharides, sugars present, we classify them into monosaccharides, which we use the word called single. We can also call them as single sugars. Then oligosaccharides, few sugars like maltose, right? Then lactose, they are all called oligosaccharides. Monosaccharides, that is glucose. Glucose is monosaccharide. Then polysaccharides, I think all of it is called many sugars. Cellulose, starch, all these are called as polysaccharide. Many sugars are called polysaccharides. So monosaccharides are the building blocks of carbohydrate. Oligo means few sugars like disaccharides, trisaccharides, right? Then polysaccharides, that like starch, as you know, the prepared food of plant is called starch, which is a polysaccharide. And the cellulose, the cell wall material of plant cell, which we use, we call it as cellulose, is a polysaccharide. So they are the very important source. Like even the cell membrane is nothing but a carbohydrate. So they have a great role to play in the body. Now monosaccharides. Now let us study about what are monosaccharides. As I said, they are nothing but called simplest sugars or single sugars. They are also called as monomers. They are also called as monomers. So here monosaccharides. What are the examples you are going to give for monosaccharides? Glucose, fructose and galactose. So you can see the formula here, how the structure of these monosaccharides, glucose, then fructose and galactose. So monosaccharides, they are the simplest sugars which cannot be hydrolyzed into simple sugars. So monosaccharides, the oligosaccharides, when they are subjected to hydrolysis, you get back monosaccharides. Polysaccharides, when they are subjected to hydrolysis, you get back monosaccharides. But when monosaccharides are subjected to hydrolysis, you don't get back the mono because they are single sugars. Oligosaccharides, few sugars. So when they are subjected to hydrolysis, you get back the single sugars again. Then when you come across the polysaccharides, so when you subject them to hydrolysis, you get back the monosaccharides. So monosaccharides are the building blocks of more complex carbohydrates like oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. Oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. Poly means what? Many. So what are monosaccharides? They are the building blocks of more complex carbohydrates like oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. So depending upon the number of carbon atoms, as I said, the carbon atoms varies. So like pentose, for example, DNA and RNA, we know they are very important nucleic acids. They are nothing but 5 carbon sugars called pentoses. So the number of carbon atoms varies. So depending upon the number of carbon atoms present, they are classified as trioses, that is 3 carbon, tetroses 4 carbon, hexoses 6 carbon, pentoses, very important. Pentoses is 5 carbon. A very important example for pentoses is deoxyribose sugar, deoxyribose sugar, and in DNA, then ribose sugar in RNA. Ribose sugar in RNA. Deoxyribose sugar and ribose sugar in RNA. So, what are monosaccharides? They are the building blocks of carbohydrates. They are also referred to as single sugars or monomers. And they are the simplest sugars which cannot be hydrolyzed into simple sugar. So, monosaccharides are the building blocks of complex carbohydrates like the oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. So, depending upon the number of carbon atoms, we classify them into what? That is trioses. Trioses means 3 carbon atom, tetroses 4 carbon atom, pentoses 5 carbon atom, hexoses 6 carbon atom. See, 6 carbon, glucose is hexose, so 6 carbon atom, heptoses 7, octoses, that is 8 carbon atom. So depending upon the number of carbon atoms, right? What are the examples you are going to give for monosaccharides? Glucose, fructose and galactose. Then if the carboxyl group is at the end of the carbon chain, the monosaccharide is an aldehyde. So if it is CHO, then we use the word called aldehyde. If the carboxyl group is at any other position of the carbon chain, then the monosaccharide is called ketone. It is called as ketone. So if the carboxyl group is at the end of the carbon chain, the monosaccharide is an aldehyde. As I said, it is also called as an aldehyde or a ketone group, right? So if the carboxyl group is at the other position of the carbon chain, then the monosaccharide is ketone. For example, ribose and deoxyriboses. Riboses are the pentoses, then glucose, galactose and hexoses. All these are the examples. So if the carboxyl group is at the end of the carbon chain, the monosaccharide is an aldehyde, and if the carboxyl group is at any other position of the carbon chain, then it is called as monosaccharide. So ribose and deoxyriboses are which are the pentoses, then glucose, galactose and hexoses. Then oligosaccharides. As I said, oligosaccharides means these are called as few sugars which are joined by monosaccharides. And the bond between two monosaccharides is called glycosidic bond. So two monosaccharides are joined together by a glycosidic bond. So there in protein it was a peptide bond. Here it is a glycosidic bond. So now let us understand. So here you can see glucose, maltose, right? A group of carbohydrates which yield a few, that is 2 to 10 monosaccharides on hydrolysis. So when the oligosaccharides are like, we have disaccharides, trisaccharides, tetrasaccharides, right? So when they are subjected to hydrolysis, we get back what? Monosaccharide. But when we subject monosaccharides to hydrolysis, we don't get back the monosaccharide, because they are only single sugars, simple sugars. So you don't get back. So a group of carbohydrates which yield a few, 2 to 10. 2 is called what? Disaccharide. 3 is called trisaccharide. So like that. Then when 2 monosaccharides are released, they are disaccharides. So when 2 monosaccharides are together joined by a glycosidic bond, you call it them as disaccharide. Trisaccharides if 3 monosaccharides are released. Then examples you can give: maltose, sucrose, lactose, then raffinose, etc. How do we get maltose? Is by combination of 2 monosaccharides. That is, glucose plus glucose gives maltose, glucose plus fructose gives sucrose, then glucose plus galactose gives lactose. All these are the disaccharides. Disaccharides. Why do we call them as disaccharides? It is formed by 2 monosaccharide units, by joining of 2 monosaccharide units. So glucose is a monosaccharide, fructose is a monosaccharide, galactose is a monosaccharide. So when 2 monosaccharides combine, then we get maltose. So when maltose is subjected to hydrolysis, you get back again this one. So this is like this arrow mark. So when maltose is subjected to hydrolysis, you get back glucose plus glucose. When sucrose is subjected to hydrolysis, you get back fructose plus glucose. When lactose is subjected to hydrolysis, you get back the monosaccharides, that is glucose plus galactose. So in the same way, 2 molecules of monosaccharides join to form a disaccharide. So what are oligosaccharides? They are few sugars. So a group of carbohydrates which yield a few, that is 2 to 10 monosaccharides on hydrolysis. So when 2 monosaccharides are joined together, they are called as disaccharide. What is the bond between the 2 monosaccharide units? Called glycosidic bond. So trisaccharides, if 3 monosaccharides are joined together, it is called as tri. So for example, maltose, sucrose, lactose, raffinose, etc. So for example, you take maltose, glucose plus glucose, then take sucrose, glucose plus fructose, then lactose, glucose plus galactose. Hope you have understood the concepts what I have explained about the proteins, functions of proteins, and the types of proteins and their functions in the body, as well as carbohydrates. So I'll be back in the coming session continuing the same concepts of these carbohydrates, and then with lipids and enzymes. Till then, goodbye and thank you.